Hello, I'm Anthony David Hobbs, and I recently found out that the word history has two different meanings. It means something that's out of date, old hat, and bears no relevance to the present day at all. It has been, past it. The word history also means something extremely significant and is just as relevant then as it is now, so it is timeless. It's weird how how the word can have two very different meanings, something really significant and something of no value at all, yeah. Anyway, but one of the meanings of history is something that's timeless, and for me, Blackadder will always be a timeless classic. I grew up watching these episodes, and did they repeat it? Yes, they repeated the episodes many, many times. Repeated the second and one the most. And but anyway, let me start at the beginning. Well, I was almost 8 years old. Now, Comic Relief. There are many charities in England, but the most distinctive one, the most successful one, is Comic Relief. Because, of course, after Live Aid or Band Aid, the thing where loads of pop stars that make millions of pounds, but it's all for charity. It all goes for charity. But then it doesn't matter how you make the money for charity, as long as you make the money, yeah. And in the same way, someone came up with the idea, what if you did funny things for money? Funny for money, yeah. And the first Comic Relief, it started in 1985, and I think it was a compilation of a load of comedians. Then they did a bigger and better one in 1986. But we didn't have that Red Nose Day until 1988. Yes, the first official Red Nose Day was February 5th, 1988. And there was a Blackadder special, yeah. And it was set in the 17th century. It was not an official series, no, just a one-off, a one episode, yeah. And this led to a bit of confusion because, you see, I didn't see the Blackadder stuff in the right order. I think I saw half an episode of Blackadder 2 the previous year. Then I saw Blackadder the Third, or half the episodes of Blackadder the Third. Then I saw this, and then I saw reruns of series 2 and 3 after, so a bit confusing, yeah. Anyway, the reason it was confusing was because I saw this, then a few weeks later, saw a repeat of Blackadder 2, and there was an episode about beheading, so I assumed it was this. Yes, we're going to see the same story again. After I'd seen the episode, no, it's a totally different story, totally different episode, yeah. There's beheading in it, yes, the theme of beheading or trying to stop an important person from being beheaded, that's there, yes. But no, Series 2, Episode 2, all about beheading, that's a totally different story, yeah. Okay, so let's get back to this. It has several different names. It's called Blackadder Red Nose Day, Blackadder Special for Comic Relief, or Blackadder the Cavalier Years, whichever title seems fit, yeah. And like the other Blackadders, yes, it is very funny, but also educational at the same time. Because before I saw this, I didn't know that in the 17th century, when you chop a man's head off, you have to pick the head up, show it to all the people and go, this is the head of a traitor. Yeah, I didn't know that. So yes, Blackadder is like 99% historically accurate. There's a few little liberties here that are not accurate, but in general, yes, it is. In other words, Baldric, very stupid, but also clever at the same time. Okay, I'll explain what I mean. When he says to because Blackadder is on the side of the Cavaliers, so supporting the King of England, who was Charles I at the time. And then, oh yes, and Blackadder, he says, the first ever civil war in England, and I'm on the wrong bloody side. That's wrong. There's been more than one civil war in England. Yes, the Roundheads and the Cavaliers, that's the most distinctive, the most well-known civil war. But in the 15th century, there was the Wars of the Roses, this dispute as to who the king should be, yeah. And there was the white rose and the red rose. But anyway, okay, so yes, that's a little bit historically inaccurate. Then Baldric, he says, I've got this brilliant plan to save the king's life. We've got a pumpkin with a moustache on it. You put that on the king's head. We pretend to chop his head off. The pumpkin rolls over and the king's life is saved. And Blackadder says, that won't work because when you you're supposed to lift the head up so everyone can have a really good look at it up close and say, this is the head of a traitor. And they'll say, no, it's not. It's a pumpkin with a pathetic moustache. That won't work. However, although that's a stupid plan, here's the clever bit. If the Roundheads win, well, they've already won, yes, because we start off in 1648, and then later, a few weeks later, in 1649, the Roundheads have won, and the king's going to be executed. He's on death row. But if you were a loyalist to the royalists, oh, hey, that rhymes. If you were loyal to the royals, then all your land would become forfeit, and you'd have all your power and title taken away from you. But if you executed the king, you get paid 1,000 sovereigns, which was a heck of a lot of money in those days, yeah. And then Blackadder realises whoever it is, so if I execute the king, I'll get 1,000 sovereigns and I won't lose all my land. So that's good, yeah. Or alternatively, go and live the high life in France, whichever works best, yeah. So Baldric's plan to execute the king, it is actually a good plan if it means you can get all the land back. So that's why Baldric can be clever and stupid at the same time, yeah. And, Stephen Fry, who's been in previous series of Blackadder, he plays King Charles. And yes, he plays him in a silly, comedic way. And so how he's really fascinated. I'm so fascinated with all this work you're doing. It's really great. Yeah, it's not my field. I'm learning new stuff, learning about all your jobs, yeah. In other words, King Charles he is delusional. He thinks everyone loves him and everyone thinks he's wonderful. Now that's comedic, but at the same time it was very true. Yes, King Charles I was delusional. Even after half the nation turned against him, even after he was arrested, no, he still thinks I'm loved by all. Everyone thinks I'm wonderful, yeah. And when he was put in a court of law, he thinks, no, they love me. No one will ever kill me. It could never happen, yeah. And then King Charles had a cane with him, and he could walk okay, but he had a cane to represent authority. A very old cane, he'd had it a long time. And in a court of law, the top of the cane accidentally snapped off, rolled on the floor. Nobody offered to pick it up for him. And then finally, Charles I, yes, it sank in. But they really mean it. Your life is in danger. The punishment for treason is death back then, and it still is now, yeah. But then in the Blackadder spoof, he says, well, there'll be no court that will ever find me guilty. Seconds later, he receives the verdict. It's unanimous. Yes, he's guilty as hell. He's scheduled to be executed, yeah. Oh, and another funny bit I like is when Blackadder's desperately trying to think of a plan to get out of this pickle. And he goes, I'm too busy to hit you, Baldric, so I'm going to hold my fist up, you're going to have to run into it. And he does, Baldric runs into it. Well, it was a very master and servant, working class and upper class time, yeah. And, Blackadder, always fast on his feet, always sweet talks his way out of a bad situation, yes. When he decides to take the job and become the executor of the king, oh yes, on a serious note, you can't say that's wrong. You can't say Blackadder didn't do that, that's historically inaccurate, or Baldric didn't do it, because nobody knows. Nobody knows who killed Charles I. The executioner remained anonymous back then and is still anonymous to this day. So if you do a thing where a certain character, nobody can correct you, because we don't know who killed Charles I, yeah. Anyway, Blackadder agrees to do it, disguises his voice, goes to see the king, and then the king takes his black mask off and says, oh, it's you, Blackadder, you've come up with a brilliant plan to save me. And Blackadder goes, oh, yeah, that's right. He ad-libs and goes, yes, I'm here to save you. I was pretending to be the executioner. He's torn, doesn't know where his loyalties lie, yeah. And then eventually he has to switch sides, join the Roundheads, because he doesn't want to lose his land. So he's very greedy, likes having lots of land. But it's not a question of greed. It's also some people that were loyal to the king, even after he was killed, were executed. Yes, you're guilty by association. So it's not a question of keeping your land. Blackadder wanted to keep his life as well, so he had to switch sides. Didn't have any choice. Yeah. And Blackadder, it made me show an interest in history, our ancestors and all that, yeah. And Baldric, I think, does he inherit a turnip from his late father? Oh no, he inherits £50 or something, I think, yeah. And normally he eats his inheritance because it's usually a turnip. So, okay. So to sum it up, yes, it's a good history lesson. It raises some good points here and there, yeah. Whose side do you go on? Do you loyal to your country, loyal to your king, or loyal to the Lord Protector. You know, well, you have to pick a side, don't you? Yes, you can't, yes, be indifferent. You have to pick a side, and Blackadder picks the wrong side, so he has to sweet talk his way around it. Very like the style of the other ones. Yes, his life is in danger. He's got to sweet talk his way around this. Yeah, and but on a serious note here, could England survive without a monarch? It's always had a monarch for such a long time. But no, for 11 years, Oliver Cromwell ruled the country with no monarch. You know, well, technically speaking, his son ruled it for 2 years after Cromwell's death. But the point is, it is physically possible for England to be ruled without a monarch, yes. But I'm glad we have prime ministers because you vote for them, so you have freedom of choice, yeah. But should you have a king? Should you have someone you vote for? Well, I think the simple answer is if the leader is good and he has ground rules. There are limits to how far he can go. And Charles I, he went too far, so yes, that's why they turned against him. You know, the Romans turned against one of their emperors, yeah, because he went too far, yeah. So, okay, I enjoyed Blackadder's comic relief Red Nose Day. And yes, Oliver Cromwell, well, we knew which actor represented him because of the big, massive warts everywhere. Yes, that's where we get the phrase warts and all, yeah. And I think the reason the comedy works is because when it's a matter of life and death, you need a joke, well, to help you cope, to stop you getting too scared, yeah. Yes, and yeah, sweet talk your way out of a dire situation, yeah. And yes, it is true, they did forfeit lots of land here and there, yeah. So yes. I like the mixture of historical facts and silly slapstick humour. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.